Hey baby, it is season 2, episode 27 of Heavy Theology.
The last episode of the season.
The last episode of the season.
Then we get on to the
Remix,
remixes.
yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for those too.
Yeah, the remix episodes. You guys can join us next week for our very first remix episode. That's where we go back to season 1. We take a look at those episodes that were only audible and we redo those. And we've both learned a lot since then, so we hope that those will be really great episodes to get you through the summer until the fall when we start season 3.
Yeah, I'm another year into my research and I've gone more in depth on those particular topics, and so there's so much more to add to them.
There's so much more to say. Yeah. Well, last week we talked about our Creepiest Encounters, part 1. So if you missed that episode or any of our past episodes, I invite you to check them out. If you like what you see or hear there, please take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes of Heavy Theology.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this week we are talking about our Creepiest Encounters, part 2.
Part 2.
Yes, part 2. So yeah.
The after brie.
Yes, these are, we had pre-brie episodes last week, and now we're going to talk about the post-brie episodes.
Yes, when my life really truly began.
Life changed, didn't it? It really did. So we talked about last week in our encounters that we had before we knew each other, the things that PJ had encountered, the things that I had encountered growing up as in a Pentecostal household. With a dad and an uncle who performed deliverances.
So today, we pick up where you and I came together.
Mm-hmm.
We got married and you moved into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had shared that the girls and I and the dogs had, my daughters and I and the dogs had really encountered a whole lot of supernatural events there. And you started to as well when you moved in.
I did. The dogs acted really weird anyway. For instance, so Jamie had 2 dogs. His daughters had dogs, and then I brought 2 standard poodles with me, as I do. But so we did have quite a full house when we first got married, and the dogs acted very strangely. They would stare into the hallway and growl, like an angry growl. And our dogs were really docile. They were not very aggressive at all. So for them to growl at anything was really kind of bizarre. My dog Max, who was, bless his heart, he's passed on now. He was quite old, but he was the most gentle, very large but very gentle standard poodle. Such a sweetheart, but he would fight with Gabby's dog Arthur so bad. I mean, they would just fight so hard with each other, but there were just instances where that Arthur would get locked in the downstairs bathroom, as you had mentioned. There were so many situations with the dogs that it's like, okay, what are they seeing? They're seeing something that we're not seeing. And we lived on a hill there in Charleston, and it was just straight up and down. I mean, even parking the car, I couldn't park my little stick shift on that hill because it wouldn't be there when I came back.
Some would call it a mountain.
Yeah, it was
Appalachian.
Yeah, it was
In
big.
Iowa, we learned that they're the Appalachian Mountains, but in Charleston, I learned that they're the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes, I'll give you. Which one do you think I would say?
I absolutely will go with the Appalachian. It seems to be the folks that live there, that's what they call it, and so therefore that's what we're going to go with.
I agree. It's how it's spelled. anyway, it was quite a hill that we lived on. We didn't have a fenced-in yard, and so we would let the dogs out one at a time, and we let them out on a lead line. So basically what we would do is we would just attach it to their collar, let them out the back door, the sliding glass door, and they had free run of the yard. And then when they, were done, we would let them back in and we would cycle them out that way. That was the best way we found to take care of that situation. But I know one night we had come home, and I don't remember where we had gone, but we had come home from somewhere. And Allie was in the kitchen and I was in the dining room, and I was going to let the first dog outside. And as I opened up the sliding glass door, and I reached down and I grabbed the lead line. And when I did, something at the other end of it and just about jerked me out of the house. I mean, it absolutely jerked. I mean, so hard, jerked me so hard. And I just stopped, and I just stood there for a second, and I turned to Allie and I said, "Did you see that?" And she's like, yeah, I did. And it was like no surprise to her because she had experienced things like that before. But yeah, I know one day we were getting ready for church, and there was no conflict, there was no frustration, there was nothing that I'm aware of anyway, but I was getting ready for church. I was in the bathroom doing my hair. He was in the bedroom, and I distinctively heard him call me a name. And I tore out of the, you remember that?
Yeah, but I did not do that. I don't call you names, not even joking.
Yeah, I tore out of that bathroom, and oh my gosh, I was all over you like a chicken on a June bug. Man, I was mad. And he had no idea what I was talking about, because he wasn't him.
I didn't do anything.
It was his voice, though. It was his voice, and it was very, very definitively that. So, those are the only things that I remember there in the house in Charleston. And so, but it wasn't long after that you were called to Otis, Colorado, where we are now. And so there were definitely some things that began to happen. There.
Yeah. What may have been forgotten is the dogs. The dogs constantly were staring at the wall, were staring down the hallway, or they were constantly seeing something. The cats too. I mean, it was something they were seeing that we weren't seeing, and growling. And there were voices and conversations going on in other parts of the house when no one else was there, when nobody was home.
Yeah.
It just very audible. Of course, that stuff was going on at the church.
Yes.
Yeah, you could hear music, you could hear people singing and talking in the church when nobody else was.
And we're talking about in Charleston. We're not talking about
Charleston,
here in Otis.
No, in Charleston, for sure.
Yeah.
And so then we were called here to Otis, and things didn't cool down at all.
No, not at all, not at all. I think my first experience here was I was in our office. We share an office, and we share a very long desk where I do my work and he does his work. And but I was in our office one day, and I was by myself. I was working. It was early in the morning, and I very clearly, and it's going to sound like I hear voices all the time. I promise you I don't. But I heard a little girl just say, "Hi." And it was just, I knew she wasn't there, for one. I knew it wasn't real, for two. So that was my first kind of.
And something more aggressive in that office. It has a pocket door. And so the door was shut and locked because we wanted to keep the dogs out of there. And I was having hip surgery. And I had this ceramic statue of a baby Jesus, but it was in the very ornate clericals and so forth, that my grandmother, Brazovich, had made and painted. And the girls came home from the hospital that night from the surgery, and it was on the floor, and its head was broken off, and its head was under the table, and there's no way anything could have gotten into that room. And so that was the more aggressive warning, I think.
Yeah. There were other things that happened. We left the house one night. I don't remember where we were going, but I had left a bowl. It was a flat bottomed bowl in the sink, and I just put some water in it to let it soak. And we came home, and that bowl was turned upside down in the middle of the kitchen floor. There was no water anywhere, but the bowl was turned upside down in the middle of the kitchen floor. And it's a really deep farmhouse sink. None of the dogs could have gotten into it. It just, there was no reason for that to have happened. Yet that did happen. It seems like that there's always been some kind of something.
And even recently, Boomer, our dog, has been laying on our bed and growling and barking at something in the hallway.
Yeah.
And he definitely sees something there. And sometimes we catch it out of the corner of our eyes.
Yeah.
And we're not for sure what it is. So it just, it follows us around, and basically we anoint the doors, we rebuke it in the name of Christ, and move on.
Yeah.
And then one night we were coming home from the gym, and there was something in our backyard.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. Yeah, we were coming home from the gym, and our backyard, the patio is locked. It's locked with a chain lock. I'm particular about our dogs. I don't want anybody to get into them or for them to be able to get out. So the lock on the gate doesn't really latch that well. So we have a chain lock so that they can't, nobody can get into them and they can't get out.
And it's a 7-foot privacy fence.
Yeah. It's very large fence. So nobody's really going to scale that. But anyway, we came home and I looked, and I thought, man, there's somebody standing there. There's somebody just standing there. And I said, wow, kind of looked like somebody was standing in the backyard, didn't it? And he he had seen it too. Yeah.
It was definitely a man standing in the back.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And you know, we agreed on where he was standing, but he wasn't there. There was, you know.
And then the dogs wouldn't go outside.
Yeah, then the dogs don't. You know, and Boomer still struggles. He doesn't want to go outside. So we have to coax him with a tennis ball and some cheese to get him to go out to the
backyard.
yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
And I know that you and Gabby have had instances of being able to knock and things knocking back, and then leaving your phone recording in different rooms and picking up all kinds of noises.
Lots of racket.
There's nothing there.
And there's nothing there, and not even the animals or anything like that. So. Yeah, and again, I don't think it doesn't have anything to do with the house. It doesn't have anything to do with. It didn't have anything to do with the house in Charleston. I think it just has to do with. You know what? You're the common denominator.
Yes, I am, and this is why I say that anyone called to this ministry has to be called, because to go into it and to want to have this stuff happen to you is not
right.
It's not sane.
Sure.
But we're willing to endure it for the sake of helping others.
Right.
Because really, they're petty torments.
Sure.
And all of those, like my experiences leading up to meeting you, are really, I think, they're deterrents. They're trying to dissuade us or trying to discourage us from continuing on in the ministry, which actually just makes me want to fight all the harder.
Sure.
And the fact that we're being tormented and the fact that there are these disturbances shows very well that we're making an impact.
Yeah.
If we weren't making an impact in the ministry, then it wouldn't
Right.
be bother us at all.
Do you ever get scared with any of the stuff that happens?
Not particularly. There was one night I did.
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened. There was a noise. Something fell in the kitchen, it sounded like, and I went out to explore it because it was pretty obvious that something crashed. We never discovered what it was that crashed, but when I went there exploring, that was somewhat unnerving. I had some goosebumps.
Yeah.
But and you know, Aristotle talked about the golden mean. You know, to run into battle without a fear is ignorance. To run away from battle and cowardice is ignorance, and therefore the golden mean or the medium is to go into battle with a healthy fear. And so I really feel like that's where I was.
Sure.
It was a healthy fear, but I wasn't terrified to the fact
Sure.
that I know who's on my side and who leads the battle.
Right. You know, I know we were, you know, in the interim between our move here and you know, from Charleston to here. I know one night, I believe we were in a hotel, but you always carry anointing oil in your pocket. I carry it in my bag, and you had laid there you go. It was this bottle of anointing oil, it's just like this. Yeah, and you had laid it on the nightstand, and the next morning, all of the stuff on the nightstand was knocked over, and this was gone.
It's disappeared.
And we looked everywhere for it, and I knew that he had laid it there. We had looked everywhere for it, and ended up finding it in a washer. Yeah, a couple days later, in a washing machine. A couple days later, you know, and I know that you had laid it there. And then that same around that same time, I remember hearing something being dragged across the kitchen floor, like that had claws.
It was dragging and clawing.
Yeah.
And it was under the bed too, clawing.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
claws, clear
Yeah.
claws and dragging.
Yeah.
Again, trying to discourage us from coming here. So.
Yeah, I agree. I can say, I don't remember being afraid. I do remember one time I woke up in the middle of the night, and I believe I talked about it in a past episode when we were dealing with Elle and the situation with what she thought was a portal or whatever. But when I had woken up that one night and the room was bathed in red, now that was unsettling to me. That was very unsettling to me. But I think that was the only time that I was actually afraid. For the most part, it just makes me mad. It irritates me.
That's what I was going to say. It irritates me.
Yeah.
It's like, who do you think you are to come into this house? This house is, for me and my house, we serve the Lord. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
You're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Leave now.
Yeah. I'll be in a room by myself, and I know you've heard me say it, but I'll say, get behind me, Satan, because you're standing in my way.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm being tormented. There's something, he's picking at me some way. So it definitely frustrates me. I think we've done it enough that we can recognize it pretty quickly, what it is. And I'll be super quick to grab that anointing oil.
And even at the national convention that we just came back from for our denomination, there was a gal running up and down the hallway screaming and yelling.
Oh,
because
yeah.
somebody stole her food in the middle of the night. And
Yeah.
they're just instances of things that don't normally happen, disturbances or aggravations or intensity. They just tend to follow us where we go.
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, it's an interesting time for sure.
It is.
Yeah, very interesting time. I know you talked about Gabby and I. We were out and about at one point in an area that we had been told that there was some pretty strong demonic activity, and I got the bright idea of telling her, I'm like, well, I've always heard that if you'll knock, they'll knock back. And she's like, and I'm not kidding you, as I am sitting here, and we were alone, and we could see everything. We heard. We looked at each other, we're like, oh my gosh. And we just sit there in silence for just a few minutes, and I told her, I said, do it again. Do it again. And I'm not kidding you, it happened again. And I was like, okay, we're not doing that no more.
Yeah, because our first rule is don't
Talk
talk
to
to dead
dead
people,
people,
and that
exactly.
is a form of communication.
Yeah. But to be fair, they weren't dead people.
Yes, no, that's right.
No, but I, that was pretty foolish of me to encourage her to do that. But I tell you what, now that I think that did kind of spook me pretty good. Yeah, that was something.
So the point is that we are fully aware that the demonic is real.
Mm-hmm.
This happens, and so if you need help, like I said in the last video, that's what we're here for. This is part of the point of the video, is to inform people, to educate them, and to make ourselves available for anyone who maybe thinks their story won't be believed or won't be heard. That's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
And to advise you, because when the intensity was so high in Charleston before I met Bree, there was no one there to really help, who really understood. There were generalities and people who had experienced things in the past, and pastors and professors and so forth, but no one really knew how to deal with it. And like I said before, I don't think anyone in the leadership of my denomination or at the church that I served realizes just how intense or what exactly it is that I encountered while living in Charleston and serving there.
And I have to say, I'm a skeptical person, so I'm very unlikely to believe that if something happens that it's demonic. I say all the time, not everything's demonic, so I'm very distrusting anyway that if something happens. So I don't see the demonic in everything, but there's a number of things that you just can't, and I know you have to be there to understand it, but I can't explain them through any other means. So yeah. So, all right, so next week we start our very first Bree Mix episode.
The Bree Mix?
Yes, the Bree Mix. There we go.
Are you going to wrap it?
I don't think I'm going to wrap it.
I would pay to hear that.
Yeah, I saved my wrapping for Christmas. But yeah, I'm excited about those. And so next week we'll talk about what are demons.
What are demons?
demons?
Oh my, that might be a long episode.
Yeah.
I've read lots of books between then and
He
now.
has read a lot since.
As a matter of fact, it's been a year. This is July, and it's been a year.
That's
since
right. We
this,
started in July of last year, and we did, I believe, 11 episodes. And we took a break, and we started in January of this year, and we have done our 27th episode now.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So we'll redo those 11 episodes. That way, they can see us, and then we'll start season 3 in September.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So get the word out, if you would, to like and subscribe, or share the YouTube or the Spotify or TikTok or on X or wherever it is that you view our podcast. Share it with your friends and get the word out. If you know someone who's had an experience that's afraid to come forward or talk to anybody, they can talk to me completely anonymous. heavytheology@gmail.com.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you to Trent and Jackie for allowing us to use their beautiful venue. Thank you to Shane over at Hive & Pulpit for his excellent editing abilities. And we'll do it again next week.
Prepare for the Southern Rap Girl. See you next week. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.